Hi, I'm Dave Koch. Welcome to workshop number 7, using technology and tools in your real estate photography business. First, let's talk about our production tools, our cameras, our tripods, our flashes, the things we use every day to take pictures. It is super important to be overly familiar with your camera and everything it does. There's only a few things we really need to do as real estate photographers. But there are a lot of times where your camera is backed up against a wall and you can't see the screen. You need to be able to make adjustments to that camera and know you're making the proper and correct adjustments without seeing the screen. Can you do that? Can you not only turn your camera on and off with your eyes closed, but can you turn on bracketing? If you can't do that, you're not familiar enough with your camera. And I think that you need to be that familiar with your camera when you're out in the field. And that just comes with practice. Shoot every day, shoot in your house, practice every day. Just become extremely familiar with all the controls on your camera. All right, let's start with the camera. You don't need the most expensive, the biggest, or the most megapixels camera on the market. You just need a good average camera. And these days, any camera, any brand will do. It really doesn't matter. Sony, Nikon, Canon, it doesn't matter. As long as it's in good working condition, you know how to work it, that's the camera to use. I will go a little crazy though on tripods. I am kind of a tripod snob, if you will. Tripods are the thing that make or break your pictures. They're the stability. They're the foundation of your photography. And when you have a tripod that you can't trust because a leg slips or because it's hard to work, or anything that's wrong with the tripod, it's not a good tripod. A tripod should be something you set and forget. You shouldn't have to think about, and it shouldn't be an impediment to your workflow. It should just go down, legs should go down, put the camera on it, and that's the last you think about it. That should be it. So I'm going to tell you, maybe not to start off with, but once you get going, when you can afford it, buy the $1,000, $1,200, $1,400 tripods because they are worth it. The two, three, $400 Benros and Leo photos will break. The Manfrotto used to be really, really good, and I still do use Manfrotto light stands, but their tripods just do not hold up. And I don't know why. The other thing about Manfrotto I don't like is they have their own mounting system. I really like the Arca Swiss system. It's almost universal except for Manfrotto. So I just don't even really consider Manfrotto in the game of things. There's a common saying among the more seasoned professionals: buy once, cry once. You will spend 12 to $1,400 on a really right stuff, which is what this camera is on right now. And you will probably spend 300 on a Benro or a similar, and then destroy it in 2 years, if that. So, in 10 years, that's two, four, three, six. It's the same price, but the really right stuff will still be running in 10 years, and you've gone through 4 or 5 Benros. The other thing I would say, and this is me personally, I get frustrated when my gear doesn't work. I get very, very frustrated. I expect my gear to work. Good gear, super important to me. Reliability, super important to me. Must have gear. For me, I have to have, when I'm lighting the 8200s, I use at least two of them. And I really love to put the MagMod spheres on top of those. I really like the way that that softens and distributes the light. And I find that it works really, really, really well for real estate photography. I can get a variety of different types of light by bending that. And the thickness of the sphere varies. So if I need to go a long way, I point it straight out. If it's a shorter room and I need more diffusion, I point it up. Then I get diffusion off the roof and I get diffusion out of the front of the sphere. Works really good for me. So that's something that works really well for me. I found that a 3 light system works the best for me. I'll use two 8200s, typically spaced equidistant on one side. And usually there's something in the back, a background object or something that needs to be lit. And Wayne turned me onto these, the little 8100 Pros. They're like Coke cans. Those light small areas perfect. So if you want to see more about that, I've got a lot of how I light tutorials on YouTube. Take a look at some of those and you'll see what I do there. Remote triggers and brackets. I shoot bracketed, typically 2 stops apart, 3 exposures. Sometimes I'll shoot 5 if it's a really high dynamic range. And I judge that looking at the pictures. You know what? You've got a histogram. You've got that live view monitor. If you're blown out, then you need to shoot further to the lower exposure. If you're not getting into the darks, you need a higher exposure. It's not that hard. Look at your images. It's so easy to do, and so many people don't do that. That, write that down, put a big X next to that. Look at your images after you shoot them. Always. You've got the opportunity. Why not take advantage of it? When I started out, I was shooting film. We had to wait, 3 or 4 days to get our pictures back. And by then I had forgotten what I had done. Right now you can shoot pictures. You know what you were doing. You'll look at it. Is it going to work? Is it not going to work? Reshoot it. It's simple. What about a 3D camera? I I do a lot of 3D and I like it. I have both the Matterport 2 and the Matterport 3, and I do a lot of Matterport 3 and I do a lot of high-end Matterport 3. But I would definitely say you may not need 3D when you start out, but I would keep my eye on it and I would aim towards that as I'm going through. As far as something like an Insta360 or a Theta Z, again, if you're starting out and that's what your budget is, that's what your budget is. But I think new, they're 900, 1,000. I think you can pick up a used Pro 2 for 1,000 too. I would say that while they take longer to process than the one step, one shot wonders, the Matterport cameras are far better and I think make you look more professional. All right, let's talk about post production now. There are a lot of varieties and variations and options. And I can't remember Luminix. I think that's one. Isn't there one that starts with an A? I bought them all. I've never used. I've used them like for an hour and just gone, nope, nope, doesn't do what I need it to do. I'm no fan of Adobe. I'll be honest. I don't like their business model, and I don't think that they're a very good company ethically. That's my opinion. However, I can't do what I need to do with anything else other than Lightroom and Photoshop. And I use both, and I use both on every shoot. For me, that's the path that I learned on, and that's kind of what I'm stuck in. So that's where I'm at. If you can work it out with one of the other softwares and make it work, good for you. But here's the thing: that if you need to know how to do something like, let's say, edit out a window, you're not gonna find tutorials on YouTube of all the also ran software packages. You're gonna find out how to do it in Photoshop, and that's it. So just because all the tutorials are about Photoshop is a giant plus in its favor. So as much as I hate it, it is kind of the standard, and therefore I do use it. Also, I use Lightroom for all my archiving and all that, and I kind of think I'd be lost without it because I know that system. So my takeaways from this are: start with what you've got right now, buy as little as possible to get started, and use what you have to learn your craft and to perfect it. Gradually upgrade when you can afford to, not just because Nikon released a new camera. I'm using uh, Z6 IIs because I like them. I'm used to them. And I know the Z6 III is out. I have no intention of upgrading to it. I keep a Z7 II and a Z6 II in my car. They match each other with menus and stuff like that. And that's, to me, that's important. I don't want to have to rethink a camera, relearn a camera because I've got a Z6 III and a Z7 II. So, just because there isn't a camera out doesn't mean you need it. So, be wary of upgrades. Perfect your software and your workflow now while you're not busy, so that when you do start to get busy, you don't have to think about things and wonder, what am I going to do? How am I going to file things? I will do something on Lightroom workflow because I think it's important how you save your images. But for now, just work on that and work out a system that works for you. And yeah, just be strategic on your upgrades. My pro tip, and I think this goes right with everything we've said: your gear does not define your skills. Your skills define your output. Spend the time to become good at what you do, regardless of the cameras that you're using. You can do just as good with the crop sensor as you can with the full frame. And in fact, when it gets on the MLS, nobody's going to know the difference. So work with what you've got and become good at it. I think that about wraps this one up. Our 8th episode coming up will be about marketing yourself. So we'll go a little bit deeper into how to market and sell yourself. I think that'll be a lot of fun. And as I end every video, may your next shoot be your best shoot. I hope this helped you a lot. If it did, there's an expanded version of this on my website available at the link in my description below. Thank you very much.